Welcome to Brother Owl's Garden. I'm Brian and I honor your presence here today. And a special hello and welcome to Kanzi, Mohammed, Raphael, Jessica, and Jeffrey, whose comments and support on and off the channel both, I appreciate very much and I thank you. So, as you know, this platform is about sharing insights on practical spirituality. And today I'm going to share with you something that I've kind of assembled with the help of at least 3 others who have helped contribute to what it is I've got to share with you today. And it's very practical and very meaningful and very effective. And I highly encourage everyone from every background and any background to learn this and to use it as often as you feel you should, which could be a couple times a day or more as you feel. So what I'm going to share with you today is a releasing ritual, or if you prefer, a releasing process, but I'm going to call it a releasing ritual because I've sort of standardized it. Now, again, I've adapted it from techniques and insights that I have learned from 3 of my friends in particular that I would like to acknowledge now. The first one is Jazz Govan from the Fast Track Technique, Jazz Govan. And I would also like to acknowledge my friend Rick here in Thailand and my friend Bob, Brother Bob out in Hawaii. Each of you has greatly contributed to what it is I've sort of received from you and then kind of revised and edited a little bit into what I'm going to offer to all the viewers today. You likewise will probably revise this a little bit as you get adept to it, because basically that's what people do. In other words, you'll make it your own. So I've made this my own, based on the invaluable input and teachings, deliberate and indeliberate, that I have received from those 3 friends who I am thankful for and who I've acknowledged now. So what is a releasing ritual? What is a releasing protocol or releasing process? You can call it all 3. It is all 3. It is a process. It is a protocol. It is a ritual, whichever rings well for you. There are things that we become aware of within us that we don't want anymore. Let's just call it undesirables. That could be anger, hot temper, laziness, social anxiety, judgmental or critical nature, things just yuck, whatever is undesirable within you. When you come to sense it, or ideally when you can identify it and name it, then it's even better. But sometimes you're not exactly sure just what it is. And so in cases like that, what I would recommend is that you just call it like a verb phrase. For example, if your issue is resistance, you are resisting growth, change, evolution, adaptation, whatever. If you find that you're resisting, but maybe you haven't pinpointed that that's the word and that's the exact target, maybe you could say unwillingness to go along with changes, opposition to things going differently. Okay, you see what I mean? So it's ideal when you can name its name. But if you can't, you can just call it that nebulous thing that makes me do this, just identify it as clearly as you can. Now, it's kind of like the Japanese language, which arose out of Chinese and then developed a second additional mode of writing, and then later even a third. You have kanji, then you have katakana, and then you have hiragana. And the 3 of them together, fused and melded together, is called Japanese. So I took a large chunk that I very thankfully and graciously learned from Jazz Govan. And then I also took another big chunk that I learned from my friend Rick. And I said, my gosh, these are two sides of the same coin. They are born for each other. They have to go together. So neither of them does both facets, but both of them each do one. And I've taken them and put them together. And then I acknowledge Brother Bob because of decades of his guiding influence, usually not so deliberately and consciously, but just by being around him and having the discussions that arise when he and I are together for so many years. What a wonderful muse that we are for each other. So I thank those three people again. Now, so there's the three people, and I love the number 3, which is magical. There are 3 aspects or 3 facets to this ritual. The first one is the speech. The second one is the visualization. The third one is the releasing action. Now, let me describe each one thoroughly, and then we'll put them together and show you what that looks like. And from there, you can begin to practice, to put this into practice, and to, try it on like a new shirt and feel your way through into making it your own. And I highly encourage you to do this as often as necessary, which is fine if it's a few times a day. Think of it like washing your hands. All right, now, the first aspect of the 3 is the speech, the speaking. The English word spelling originally meant the casting of spells. We're not talking black magic here. We're talking about the very profoundly important power of your spoken word. There is a power in the spoken word. This is why mantras, the Hindus call it mantras, Christians call it chants, the Sufis call it kalam. The power of the spoken word is profound. And in modern society, modern humanity, it is utterly unconscious and nearly forgotten by most people, but not all. And if you had forgotten, now you've been reminded. Your words create reality, or at the very least, they create your experience of reality. Okay, so the speech part, I'll tell you that the most important part about the speaking part is the intention of your heart. Intention, I've mentioned that before. Intention is the engine that's driving everything. If you mess up your words, it's not a huge big deal. Just go back and correct them in real time. You don't have to start all over again and, oh no, what have I created now? I've done it wrong. It's not like that. The intention of your heart is what matters most. Now, so we've talked about the importance of intention, and we've talked about identifying that which you want to release as clearly as possible. Name it exactly when you can. If you can't, just try to go in a circle around what it is, like it's like this, or when I do this, and just call it a verb phrase, or even just a verb. All right. But try to choose powerful and encompassing words whenever possible. What I mean is, instead of saying, oh, I release that. No, I now choose to release the entirety of, we'll call it X, from the entirety of my being and the entirety of my life. Where can it hide? Nowhere. You have shed the divine light on all corners, all nooks and crannies. So that's my preference. I am a little bit pedantic and scrupulous when it comes to that, but why be sloppy? But again, your intention is what matters the most. Okay. So let's just say that the the issue is resistance, because I mentioned that before. This is a sample of something that you could say. And again, you'll make it your own. But I suggest that you start from this or something very close to this until something clicks and jives with you perfectly, in case the words that I offer you don't, okay? So an example of the speaking part, the speech, the spell, okay, would be, I release from the entirety of my being and the entirety of my life any and all resistance within my being that does not serve me, that I no longer desire, and that I can release now. I send this to divine love in understanding, forgiveness, and thankfulness. I release all resistance from me now. I will probably speak a little bit different the next time I do this for you, but that is a general template. And I do suggest that for the sake of impact and power, that you use the word now as the very last word to finish your speaking, to finish your spell, okay? The next part is the visualization. Credit to Rick for this. Now, while you are doing the speaking, in your mind's eye, in your imagination, by the way, imagination is not fake, not false, not invalid. It is the womb of your idea creating, okay? It is where the seeds of reality or your experience of reality are born. So, or conceived, I should say. So you are using your mind's eye while you are speaking. You are seeing, whether you close your physical eyes or not, you are seeing the following thing. Now, there are options. Choose the one or a one that clicks for you. If it works for you, use that. If it doesn't work for you, decline that. So here's what it is you visualize. If possible, if you can feel and visualize and see where this energy mass of, we're using resistance as the example, if you can visualize in your mind's eye and sense and discern where in your body that resistance occupies, remove it from there. If you really can't feel or discern or sense where it is, it's okay. It's not gonna stop the process at all. It's just an extra dimension of surety and clarity if it happens that you can sense it. But if you can't, it's not a deal breaker at all. But if you can feel, oh, that's right here in my gut, like, you know, my digestion area. Oh, that's definitely here in my mind, my head, you know, something like that. Oh, that's definitely the heart area, whatever. So if you can discern its location in your body, then visualize it coming up and out. And if you can't discern where it is, that's okay. Just envision that it has come out of you. Again, whatever works for you, do that. When you visualize this mass being extracted from you, visualize its appearance. What does it look like? How much does it weigh? How big is it? What shape is it? What color is it? What texture is it? What does it smell like? What does it feel like? Identify it with as many aspects as you can, because each of these is pinning it into absolute clarity and boom, gotcha, okay? And again, this is not, you are not fighting and you know, this is not a violent going against. This is just extracting something that you're going to release. This is not obliteration and battle, okay? So visualize it from wherever it came from, if possible. If not, it's okay. Visualize it extracting from you. Visualize what it looks like. And now here's the part where you've got some options. What's important is that you choose and use something that is immaculate, immaculate white. It could be a rose. It could be a balloon. It could be one of those lanterns they use at the Loy Krathong festival in Thailand and let up into the sky. It can be a gleaming white rocket that you can put something in and send off. Something that is immaculate white. Rose, balloon, lantern, rocket, or something that works better than those for you, but probably one of those will work for you, if not all of them. So choose what flows and visualize this mass of undesirable and energetic mass of undesirable stuff, which we, in this case, know is resistance, and send it on to this immaculate, pure white thing that you've chosen. And it's important for you to keep in mind that this pure white, immaculate thing wants this ugly mass of undesirable resistance or whatever else it is. It wants it. It is there to receive it from you. It wants it. You're not defiling it. It is here to take it from you. It is here to serve that purpose. It wants it. Okay? So you visualize it going onto or into that pure, immaculate white thing that you've chosen, and then send it up and far out of your energy field, out of your body, out of your aura, out of your astral body, out of your energy field, completely out of your space, exponentially far out of it, and send it not just away, but up and away. And as you're coming to the final part of your speaking, I release any and all of this from the entirety of my being and my life in divine love, understanding, and thankfulness now. And try to coordinate that finishing of your words with the finishing of the visualization. Try to stream them together. Don't let one be way ahead of the other. And as you get to the word now, that is when you can visualize that it is absolutely obliterated, atomized, or you can imagine that it has been completely sucked in and enveloped by divine love, or you can have some fun with it and send it into a sacred volcano that you may know. Kilauea, whatever volcano. Send it into something that is purifying, that absorbs it all completely, and or obliterates it into non-existence. You visualize that it is now completely out of you, completely removed, completely sent irretrievably far away, and is no more. The reason why this visualization aspect is so important is because the unconscious mind, which I think at a certain depth is soul, but the unconscious mind doesn't operate in language. The language is important. We talked about the power of your words. But the unconscious mind, or perhaps the soul at that level, operates and communicates in imagery. Imagery. This is why you dream. This is why you have lucid dreams. This is why I've had several what I call soul dreams, which were other level dream, like not even mind, but soul, a dream that occurred in the soul level. I'm not sure where that layer ends and begins, but I don't think there's a solid line between them. So imagery is the language of the unconscious mind, and that's why that's so important. Now, the final third aspect of the releasing protocol, the releasing ritual, can be done in, technically, here's the number 3 again, one of 3 ways. If you have nothing, you can just use your fingertips. If you have a magnet, you can use a magnet. And it doesn't matter which pole you point at yourself. And if you have a crystal, you can use a crystal. I prefer to use a crystal. Is it necessary to use a crystal? No. Is it necessary to use a magnet? No. Is it beneficial? I think so. Yes, I think there is an energetic, a measurable energetic quality. Well, if not measurable, you can feel it. Okay. Oh, is that mind over matter? Is that just, a placebo? What's the difference? If it makes it work for you, then it works. Okay. So you can just use your fingertips if you have no magnet or crystal, or if you don't prefer to use them, or you can use a magnet, either pole pointing at you, or you can use a crystal if you prefer. Now, the thing about the crystals is you should use a grounding crystal, and I'll tell you 3 types that you should choose from, and I do not recommend that you stray from that into other types, because different crystals have different properties, and they're not all made for the same thing. They don't all do the same thing. And remember that the magic is in you, but the crystal is a facilitator and it is an accessory. All right, but the magic is in you. I would recommend that you use quartz or citrine or amethyst. Quartz or citrine or amethyst. You don't have to go outside of that. These 3 are fine. I happen to make one that I use. I made this releasing wand. This is very fancy. It is not necessary. It's just the way I felt like doing it. And because, me with owls, I had to have the owl on there. And I found this natural piece of wood that was like a tuning fork shape. It was just amazing. And I saved it for about 2 years before I knew what I was going to do with it. And this is what I did with it. Again, you don't have to have a full wand. You can just use the crystal. If you don't have a crystal, you can use a magnet. If you don't have a magnet, you can use your fingertips. Okay, so you get it. Now, while you are speaking the verbiage part, and while you are simultaneously visualizing the scene that I explained to you before, here's the third part. I suggest that you start around your third eye, your forehead area here, and you want to move it up and over the top of your head and down to about the bump on your back below your neck. Okay, so you want to just do this motion. It doesn't matter how many, it doesn't matter the speed or whatever, just find your groove. Okay, but I would suggest to you that you do it slowly and deliberately. You don't want to do it too fast. You could hurt yourself or drop it. So just kind of find your vibe, find your groove. Okay. So you would be moving this with whatever's your dominant hand from your third eye, forehead area over your head, your brain, down your neck to the base of your neck, that bump at the top of your back. Okay. So now you know each of the 3 aspects. Let me give you an example of what it looks like to do it together. You'll just have to understand that I'm visualizing. I can't show you that, but I'm going to visualize what it is I'm releasing going onto, I'm going to choose the Thai lantern because it is gentle and delicate, and I have done it many times in my real physical life, and so I can relate to it really well. There's a memory of doing it, not just an imagining doing it. And again, you can use the white rocket, which one of my energy session clients loves to use, or you could use a white rose or a white balloon or whatever is pure, immaculate, and meaningful and works for you. Okay. So this is an example of what the ritual looks like with all 3 aspects in effect at the same time, which is the complete protocol. I release from the entirety of my being and the entirety of my life any and all forms of resistance within me, whether my own or from anywhere else that I have picked up and held on to. I release all forms of resistance that I am able to release today in divine love, forgiveness, and thankfulness. I release all resistance from all of me now. It happens to be my personal habit to always finish now on the third eye. You don't need to do that. I just do that. It's just one of the ways I've made this my own. You can also, and again, I didn't say exactly the same words that I showed you in the first example, because, it's the intention and you can say it like, 3-4 different ways. But I do try to speak all-encompassingly. And it is also very good if you can include that you forgive yourself and any and all others involved, okay? If you want to do that, you definitely can add that in. And there's more. After you complete the release of the resistance, to some extent, depending, you will sense, you will feel it release. It might be very subtle and gentle, or sometimes it might be, wow, it just depends. I have had the full spectrum of, I think I maybe kind of felt something there, all the way to couldn't catch my breath sobbing. It just depends, because you don't really know what all you're pulling up from the depths of yourself, okay? And no extreme reaction is required, and no reaction, and the absence of a reaction does not invalidate what you are doing. What you are doing, you are doing. It is doing. It is being done. So don't go on feelings, but sometimes you're going to feel it. But don't require any extreme degree of feeling it. But sometimes you're still going to feel it anyway. Okay. Another point is that if you wish to add another segment, you can. After you have completed the releasing, you say, I release all of this from all of me, from the entirety of my being now. And after you feel that release has completed, before you finish, you can say, and I now replace that with whatever you want to reprogram or put in its place to occupy that space that it used to occupy. For example, it should be the very clear opposite of what you have released, because what you released is what you didn't want, which is resistance. So let's say openness, receptivity, and I guess let's just say playfulness rather than being so rigid, okay? So I'm going to say, I now replace the resistance I have released with openness, receptiveness, and playfulness. 3 is always good. Could be 1, could be 2, could be 6, but you just don't have to overdo it. All right. And so I replace it with whatever it is I've decided that is the opposite and desirable thing now. I just happen to like to finish on my third eye. For me, that is very meaningful. But as far as the charge, I don't think that it matters. Okay. So basically, there it is. You know generally what to target in your speech. You know generally what to envision in your mind's eye. As you're speaking it, you're seeing it happen in a certain way. And you know the physical gesture with the crystal or the magnet or your fingertips. Okay? And you can do this as often as needed. Maybe you did it today, and then tomorrow, sometime in the afternoon, something really annoys you, sets you off, and you find that whatever thing you released yesterday is kind of a little bit more trying to, poke its head up. Okay, boom, I'm going to release that now. You're not like fighting it and battling it. You're letting it go. You're releasing it from you. And as I've said before, remember that every time you release something from you, you are releasing you from something. And rinse and repeat as needed. And in today's world, we need it. You should do this every day. If you don't do it every day, please at least do it every time it's obviously arisen within you. And there's no limit to what energy masses or namables you can release as you gradually begin to identify them. And keep in mind that as you release these things, these conditionings, these cellular traumas, these pent-up memories in your body from childhood events or wherever they came from, beliefs and conditionings that you may have absorbed from other people unconsciously, which you've been carrying around and they're not even yours. Possession is 9/10 of the law. It doesn't matter where you got them. It doesn't matter how long they've been there. When you realize they're there, flush them out, release them, and repeat as necessary. I guarantee you that as you become adept at this, you're going to feel the results and the lightness that occurs after, sometimes immediately after. And what you have let go frees and clears space for what is you and is yours. And you can deliberately reprogram or put in that space the desirable aspects of your choosing. So I hope that this has been helpful, and I trust that it is. And feel free to share this video with as many friends as possible who may benefit from this as well. And as always, because it helps us to reach more people with this meaningful and useful content, thank you to those who subscribe and share and like the videos, because it helps people to be reached. So I thank you very much. Now get releasing. Free yourself.